Mel's probably told you all a lot about Enlli, but for those that don't know, it might be relevant. It is said that there are 20,000 saints buried there, and it is by some considered a thin place between different worlds. I'll read the original Welsh first, excuse me, and then English translation. Rhwng dau gau yn Enlli. Diolch i wardeiniad, ymddiriadolwyr, gwirfoddolwyr, mae pob giat yn agor yn rhwydd, yn symud yn ysgafn ar ei chetynau a'i chliciad yn llithro i'w lle a gras. Nid oes rhaid gwthio giatiau, neu codi, neu llusgo trwy fod. Does dim rhaid datod clymau cortyn bêls, ac mae bob camfa'n gadarn. Rwy'n camu drostynt, heb fachu fy jeans ar gysanau a'n llythrennog gweiran bigog. Yma, lle mae esgyrn yn y pridd, mae'n hawdd mynd o un cae i'r cae nesaf. Between two fields on Enlli. Thanks to wardens, island managers, volunteers, every gate opens easily, swings freely on its hinges, and its latch slips into place with grace. There is no need to shove the gates, nor lift them, nor drag them through the mud. There's no need to open knots of bale of twine with fumbling fingers, and every stile is sturdy. I step over without snagging my jeans on the illiterate signatures of barbed wire. Here, where there are bones in the soil, it is easy to go from this field to the next field. Thank you. I've done some work as a poet with people living with dementia. The work I was doing, I was there to act as a scribe, to help them tell their stories, help them with their words. But I was also inspired to write myself about the experience. Again, this was written in Welsh and then translated into English. It's called Ar ôl bod yn Modawen, after a visit to Bodawen. And Bodawen was one of the care homes I visited as part of this project. Ar ôl bod yn Modawen, weithiau roedden ni, hi a fi, yn ei gweld yn dianc, yn sglefrio i ffwrdd i'w rhyddid ym mhatrymau'r carpedi ac ymhlygiadau'r llenni ac ymysgu ffrindiau ar y radio. Ac yna roedd angen ei hamgylchynu a lasw disgrifio. Ddim ceffyl, mwy na dafad, ei llusgo nôl i'w priod len ein cega. Buwch? Ia, buwch, corlanwyd gair, awn ymlaen ar sgwrs. A finna, wrth gerdded adra, yn enwi fy myd fel plentyn blwydd, rhag cofn i'r diawliad yn ystywall, lithro cyn pryd i guddio yn y beth ti'n galw ar ochr y lôn. After a visit to Bodawen, sometimes we, she and I, would see them escaping, sliding away to their freedom between the carpet swirls, in the folds of the curtains, and amongst their friends on the radio. And then they had to be surrounded with a lasso of description. Not a horse, bigger than a sheep. We drag them back to their rightful place in our mouths. A cow? Yes, a cow. A word corralled, our conversation continues. And as I walk home, I name my world like a toddler, in case the crafty buggers slip too soon to hide in the whatchamacallit by the side of the road. Thank you. This first piece is in the form of a cywydd. That's a fairly well-known and common form of writing in Cynhanedd. And it's rhyming couplets, which you might be able to hear. And as I say, you might be able to hear the Cynhanedd itself as well. It talks about the breakdown of a relationship using a not very original image of a house becoming a ruin. Magwyrydd. Dau ddist yn llacio'n ddistaw, trwy'r craciau dawgleiniau glaw yn ffrwd yng nghysgop pob ffrau. dŵr chwerw I dair chwarae, diferion neu'n difaru. Chwaraeant ein plant fel plu, curo llaw I hen lawon neu'r clisiau a'i lleisiau llon, yn orchydd na allguddio nad yw tŷ ond oed y to. Ein brad, a wna lechu brau, ein twyll, paent dros y tyllau. The other piece I'll read is in the form of something called an englyn, which is again a very common form of writing in Cynhanedd. It's a very short, I'm with you Elizabeth, what short means short. 4 lines, it's sometimes compared to a haiku, and I'm not very keen on that comparison myself. I don't feel it does justice to either form. But it is 4 lines, it's something that's often found on gravestones, for example. And I'll just read you one. It's called Gwanwyn 2001, Spring 2001, and that was the year of the foot and mouth here in Britain. Ffwrnais maff ar ynys môn, yn llosgi holl esgyrn gobeithion, yr ach yn ddim ond gwreichion, y ser yn ddim mwy na sôn. And I'll finish this segment with something very different but related. It's a poem that I actually wrote in English, and I find, as most of you who write in different languages know, you're a different poet, and it's much more easy for me to write in persona in English. And this is a poem about Cynhanedd, but written by somebody who doesn't use it. Cynhanedd. I never did understand the Aran jumper rules that cable knit their lines in fussy, convoluted, fair isle stanzas. Experts dug through documentaries, subtitled scratching. I doubted when they claimed to have found a piece, peat pickled, perfect, somewhere to the north of Junction 45. A sweater sleeve that you or I could wear, they said, as they stretched it back to shape on harp strings. It dripped its dirty water as it dried, and in that, the puddles on linoleum, I saw the beauty. Thank you, everybody. This is something very new, so might not be finished. It was written during an online workshop on Saturday from Hedgebrook, which is a writer's centre in the States. If you don't know about it, well, if you're a woman and don't know about it, Google it just to see the pictures. You stay in little huts, they're absolutely beautiful, and one day I will go there, but an online workshop was fine. The prompt we were given is, what are you made of? What I'm made of. I am made of words and breadcrumbs. Words in Cymraeg like ffridd and enfys and ystafell, unigrwydd and cystrawennau, and breadcrumbs that fall as the knife cuts the loaf. When there are enough, the crumbs will coat me, and then perhaps the words will fall silent, or possibly, as I, coated in golden crumbs, am dropped into hot oil, they will sing. Thank you. This next poem is a poem about translation. I do, and it is in quotes if you saw it, use the phrase kiss through a handkerchief. It's been used by so many, Aris Thomas and Elvin among them. Translation. A kiss through a handkerchief, said the poet, and he, or she, it was hard to tell, should know. The nerve endings of the lips befuddled by cotton, as it snags on skin chapped by a thin and narrow east wind, or ragged where I chewed it, worrying about mutations or the bloody tears of a prince whose states I do not know. And yet, like those who must have breasts encased in latex or feet in red stilettos, It could become, so easily become, the only way. And I'll finish this very short collection of English language poems with a poem called OL18. OL18 is an OS map, and I've, to all intents and purposes, lived within OL18 almost all of my life. I spent a few years, a couple of inches out of it, although the thing is, it starts with the words never eat shredded wheat. Some of you may be familiar with that as a mnemonic for north, point to the compass, north, south, east, west, never eat shredded wheat. OL18. Never eat shredded wheat. Otherwise, I might cross the lines that keep me in my milltir sgwâr, strict metered to this place. My name on a gravestone before my birth. I don't see the gaps in the dry stone walls. I watch the lichen grow. But I'm in love with a traveller who yesterday afternoon sent a text from Banff at breakfast time. Kisses of snow and coffee from the west. Thank you. I'll finish with two poems, one in English, which is a translation from the Welsh, and one in Welsh. The Mabinogi, for those that you that don't know, are really old Welsh stories. And I've written a series of poems about the minor characters in the Mabinogi. But once, open the book, listen. Listen to the storyteller on a freezing night. Listen as she echoes the memories of your childhood. Read with care. Listen as if your life depended on it, and you'll notice the details in the branches, the knots, the woodworm holes, the shadows of Assamites, and tiny, tiny spots where the grain almost fades to nothing. Those things you miss at first glance as you admire the shape of the chair. Reopen the book. Listen again. There are always the nameless ones, and those who are named but once. Those that no one writes a play about, their names known only to academics or geeks with newborn daughters. Their whole lives cling to 2 or 3 syllables as the story moves on, placing heroes and villains in lights, on book spines and sprinkled in conversations. But listen. Really listen, read again, look at the picture a little longer, squint into the corners and into the shadows of the frame, notice the credits, the scroll as you put your coat on. They are always there, the nameless ones, and those that are named but once. And I'll finish with a poem in Welsh, which I haven't translated, about one of those people, a woman called Carmarthen. Carmarthen is the mother of Branwen and Bendigeidfran and Nisien and Efnisien, who are, for Welsh speakers, at least well-known names. Until I read through the Mabinogi carefully, looking for people to write about, I hadn't heard about her. And in this poem, she's an older mother, and like so many of us who are mothers, perhaps at my age, thinking, could I have done something differently to change the lives of these children of mine who, to put it bluntly, had a fairly dramatic time of it. Carmarthen. Besignodd y 5 o'r bronnau hyn, a'i dyrnau yn agor a chau wrthynt afael yn y dyfodol anweledig fesul cnegwarth. Yswigen laeth ar ei gwefusau'n friw o bleser, a'i hamrannau'n disgyn yn swrth mewn anwybodaeth. A oedd na unrhyw beth y gallwn ni fod wedi wneud? Allwn, ac yn tensigno fod wedi mwyddo i draed, digon iddynt ddewis i'w lwybr arall. Rhoi cariad mam yng nghroen i sodla i wthio i gyfeiriad gwell. Allwn, ac yn tanddeifis llwglyd blin, fod wedi rhoi mwy, rhyw chydig mwy a'i fodloni. Allwn a hithau'n cyfogi ac ond ni'n dwy yn uffron yr oriau man, fod wedi troi y llefrith sur yn nerth i'w chynnal rhwng y noe a'r bedd petrial. Allwn ni, ymhell gen i'r bronnau hyn lacio'n sachau hanner gwag, fod wedi newid y stori. Diolch yn fawr, thank you.